Okay, so here I am about to perform a leak test on the rebuilt computer. I've I've skipped assembly of the parts because it took too much brain work. Also, I'm coming down with the flu. Anyway, at least job's almost done. I just have to hook up the fans. Now, for now, the PC is hooked up to the UPS. So it's also how do you say this? This adapter plug that doesn't activate the motherboard just yet. Anyway, that. So with me, I have this small nozzle bottle of well, as you can guess, it's car automotive coolant. So it's still better than distilled water. Anyway, that being said, the mm, routing of the new routing would be from the pump. It goes to the it now goes to the CPU first, then it goes down to the first small radiator, then up to the big 360. So it's gonna draw air from the top, then it's gonna go down. Wait, it's gonna go down to the GPU. Yeah, almost a little confused. It's gonna go down to the GPU. It's gonna swirl in there. It's gonna go down to the uh, 240 radiator, which is has what do you call that? Push pull setup. So it's got fans in the front, fans at the back. It's also pulling air in. Uh, Back to the reservoir, then back to the pump. The new thing that's actually installed here in this design are these two 120 millimeter fans. And so I not only get air drawn from the top, from the side, but now I also get from the bottom, and these are also intake vents. So these are grates. There's also one in the side. So yeah. So now let's do the leak test. Gotta, since I can't access the actual G quarter fitting of the cover, so I'm just gonna have to remove the cover itself, but also leave it not fully closed so it can purge air in case there's more air bubbles in the system. I actually figured out how to not create any bubble turbulence. So you have to orient your reservoir where the the coolant's getting picked up by the pump should always be at the bottom. Then slightly above it is where the return line is. So if there's any sort of um, turbulence, it all happens at the bottom. So any excess air is going to rise to the top. Hopefully, it gets purged by the open open G quarter cover. So let's put that aside. Let me take a hit of my vape first. God damn, forgot the cover was locked. Whew. Really have trouble breathing. Anyway, I'm not asthmatic. It's just really I'm feeling really, really, really under the weather. Okay. So let's start to do this again. Gonna fill up the reservoir slowly. Hopefully I should s- I should sit more upright. Hopefully the camera is picking up where I am putting in the coolant. So it's not a problem. Don't worry about it slowly filling up. After all, you're doing a leak test. But I have faith in the parts that I installed, since the fittings have what do you call this? Silicone, heavy duty silicone O-rings. As you can see, it's starting to fill up. Hopefully, I'm not seeing any drops in the I'm not seeing any drops on the radiators. So this is pretty much the first fill. Let's try and not really fill it to the brim, but let's fill it up nonetheless. Just enough so you can do the next fill. So let me get the flashlight. See if everything's in order. Or maybe the spotlight would do better, but maybe the spotlight would do better. Yeah. So there. So anyway, let's see if there. Test leak number one. Leak test number one. Oh, spewed out a bit of coolant. Means there's a lot of air in the system. Also, you shouldn't be doing it up like me. Let's have a little fail safe. Maybe at the top. Since the fans aren't activated, might as well at least keep the air purge right in front. Let's do that again. Hopefully the hopefully it hopefully it catches. Yep, that's a lot of air in the system. So second refill. So for a 120 30 uh, 30 I estimate it's actually 28 millimeter, but it's estimated 30. So 120, 360, and 240 radiators are all 28 millimeter. Last time I checked, these things can carry around 1.1 liters. Refilling the coolant. Not much that it spills, not too less that I'm gonna go for another refill. Oh, if you were wondering, I'm actually using a condiment squeeze bottle. It's not actually the one that's designated that just sits vertical. It's that because that sort of bottle kind of failed on me. Okay, another quick hit of the vape. Anywho, over time as the system heats up or gets into operating temperature, wait, operating temperature, it's gonna purge out all the air pockets, hopefully, leaving a full fluid system. Also, the hoses I'm using are food grade silicone, so they're not gonna be eroding anytime soon. Also, you can see the return line of the GPU is actually has massive air pockets. Also, in my previous teardown of the 1660 Super, GTX 1660 Super, I also didn't bother changing the thermal pads as they still have good contact. And as far as I'm concerned, they're also they should the indicator for a worn out thermal pad is um, it's not oily because that's the chemical that transfers the heat from the gigabyte VRMs to the heatsink. So it was still oily. So definitely the pads are still good. I just cleaned the thermal paste from the core and just slapped it on with better thermal paste, Arctic MX6. I'm not that familiar with cryonaut or the liquid metal stuff. From what I've learned, those things expire faster than either the Arctic MX4 or the Arctic MX6. So I'm using the MX6. Okay, so leak test again. Oh, really drained, really drained the reservoir. It's a good sign. So it's around 3 to 4 refills of this stuff. I don't know. I plan to put a filter on in here, but seeing that there's not really any debris inside, and it also is going to cost another expenditure just to make a filter pass through line somewhere. I don't know, but definitely I definitely need a smaller reservoir. This is a 100 millimeter. I'm kinda shooting for the 60, so I can lower the holding bracket of this reservoir and also pour coolant right off the top. Just top it off slowly from there instead of uh, removing the whole cover. But as you can see, you gotta work with what you have. Hmm, maybe I should do it this way. System's filling up again. Probably purged the most of the liquid from the 360 radiator. Let's see. It's always good to have a roll of paper towels handy just in case anything happens. But so far as it goes, looks like everything's still dry on the PC. Let's do that again. So then you start to wonder where all that gurgling. Oh, there's gurgling definitely. How much more coolant I need to put. Might need to check the fittings. If that can. Nope, nope. Dry, dry, dry. That's definitely dry. Dry, dry. That's dry. That's dry. CPU core. That's dry. Okay, just means it's purging out all the air in the system. Okay, this fourth refill. Uh, Tedious but needed. Fill it up a bit more. Put more coolant inside again. Hopefully it purges out most of the air. So what I've noticed is after filling the system, it takes me around 2 weeks of 2 weeks of daily usage. Well, it's like 4 hours per day on a daily basis. 2 weeks to fully purge the system of air bubbles. Though that being said, it's still good. At least the system is effective. Okay, turn on the pump again. As long as it's a full fluid system, we Gucci. Well, for now, there's turbulence. See? If you can see that, but there's definitely rogue pockets of air. So far, so good. As you can see, all that coolant swirling. Sure, sure if you could see that. Yep. So far, so good. It's just merely a cleanup and probably the finishing leak test tomorrow. Kind of tired. At least you can see all that turbulence suddenly dissipating at the top of the reservoir, which is nice. So might have to cut it short here. Okay. So hi again, and an update. I was supposed to use a lower wattage power supply unit, 550 watt. Unfortunately, my PC couldn't post. So it just told, with all the troubleshooting done, uh, the only thing that remained was the power supply unit. So that being said, it's definite my the voltage is definitely undervolted since I set my RAM and RAM, CPU, and well, the motherboard settings pretty much set it to slight overclock. So it's undervolting. So switch back to the 850 watt, and as you can see, it booted up. Mm, what do I have to say? I also learned of the new Windows update that would corrupt the hard drives of the computer, mainly hard drives using the Phison chips, which is pretty much most of what I'm using. So instead of the usual three drives that I have here, I added back the two big hard disk drives, which is the 2 terabyte, which is mainly for my dad's as a backup storage, and the 1 terabyte from my mom. So, as much as possible, I'd like to utilize all the hardware. So this is the so that's the best configuration for this PC for now. At least there's still no leaks from the water cooling, which I like. And as you can see right now, I am updating the drivers for my GPU. So always go custom, always go clean install. I am also observing if this Windows update is gonna try and surprise me. So as I don't click any as long as I don't click this, hopefully everything's gonna be fine. So yeah, it's updating the driver. Next, I'm gonna be updating my Steam. Hopefully the other games. Already did an error checking earlier. So far it's fine. Last thing I'm gonna do is pretty much a virus scan. But since it's been more than 2 months that this thing's been disassembled, I don't think any virus has infiltrated the system. So for now, yeah, PC's complete.